My name is Evelyn Castillo-Bach. I'm the Executive Director of Balanced Justice Network. We're based here in South Florida. And today we're going to focus on a case of a man who served 32 years. He was sentenced to life for a murder that he did not commit. And he fought for years to get the state attorney's office, the Miami-Dade State Attorney's office, to realize that he was wrongfully convicted. He tried to get the courts to see that he was wrongfully convicted. His family tried to get lawyers to take his case. Nobody would touch his case unless, of course, they paid a lot of money. They were a poor family, a humble family. They didn't have a lot of money. But they kept fighting for him. They kept fighting for him. He kept fighting for himself. They never gave up. And they got the attention of a journalist by the name of Tristram Korten. I hope I'm not butchering his name too badly. He was writing for, and still writes, I believe, for GQ magazine. And he did an in-depth story on how it came to be that this gentleman, Thomas James, was found guilty of a murder that he did not commit based on mistaken identity. It was another man with a similar name, similar look, but it wasn't him. He wasn't even in the area at the time. He served 32 years. It also helped that an attorney, a young attorney who, as I understand the reporting, had recently graduated from law school and had recently given birth. She also learned about the case through the efforts of family and friends of Thomas James, and she decided to take the case pro bono. And she devoted more than 2,000 hours to investigating the events that led to him being wrongfully convicted of this murder. And ultimately, she actually spoke to the woman, the one witness who testified that it was he who shot and killed the man living in the apartment where the home invasion took place. What is the point of all this? The point of all this is that unless you have a lot of money, or unless you have family and friends that are committed to proving your innocence, the criminal justice system doesn't care. It doesn't care. But everybody knows that. My focus is what's happening here in Miami-Dade. And of course, the reason I'm interested is because I am a casualty. You can refer to me as a casualty. I don't think of myself as a casualty, but in a way I am a casualty of the state attorney's office in Miami-Dade. I am a casualty of it because I was totally ignorant and naive. I didn't know anything about the criminal justice system. But when my son was sentenced to life 24 years ago this month in a he said, she said case, both of them in their 20s, no drugs, no gangs, no violence, no trafficking. Did I say no weapons? I mean, he said, she said. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, staying in the same hotel room. She invites herself up to his room because she says she wants to look at the microwave. She then says the sex was not consensual. He's offered a 5-year plea deal. He rejects it, believing that innocent people don't take plea deals. And he gets sentenced to life. Hard to believe, but true. Then 10 years ago in 2015, a wonderful appellate attorney realized that the life felony that he was convicted for actually doesn't exist under Florida law. That on the verdict form, when the jurors say guilty, not guilty, guilty, not guilty, that the thing that they said guilty to, for which he was given a life sentence, that offense actually doesn't exist under Florida law. And the state attorney's office said, too bad, too late, time barred, basically go die, because in Florida, a life sentence is a death sentence. There's no such thing as a probation or parole. But going back to Thomas James, his case had the advantage that there were a lot of facts that could be proven. For example, there was the gun was never found. There were no fingerprints, even in the house where this awful murder took place. It was one eyewitness who said that from a photo lineup, he said, "Oh yeah, that was him." It turns out that she was wrong. And this man tried for years. He wrote letters to the state attorney's office. He advocated for himself. His family did. And they just dismissed him. Nobody wanted to be bothered with it. And this especially troubles me, now knowing how it is, how they dismiss. They just dismiss you. You know, they don't care. It's like life and death. It's like it doesn't matter. They don't care. They won, be gone. This is their demeanor. But the reason this really bothers me is, you know, the head of this, all the prosecutors in Miami-Dade, her title is state attorney. Her name is Catherine Fernandez-Rundle. In 2003, she established something called the Justice Project. And she boasted. You can go to the website and see it. It's still written there like that. You know, boasting about how they were the first to establish this structure to examine wrongful convictions. You know, to do the right thing. Go read it. It's there. This was in 2003. This man was in prison since 1990. Okay, in 1990. Catherine Fernandez-Rundle didn't come into office until 93. But that man was there from 1993 up until the time that he was finally released in 2022. And throughout that whole period, those decades, he's writing letters. He's trying to get their attention. Listen, it's not me. It's wrongful identity. Please look again. Please look again. Please look again. Nothing happened. Then the journalist, like I said, the journalist Tristram Korten, his first name is spelled T-R-I-S-T-R-A-M, as in Mary, and his last name is K-O-R-T-E-N, writing for GQ. He opened up that case, he wide open. And of course, he let the state attorney's office know, listen, I have proof that this man is not the man that you think he is, that this was a wrongful identity. So then they start to look at the case again. At the same time, there's a lawyer, like I said, who came in, jumped in. She gathered a bunch of other people. There was a police, there was a retired homicide detective by the name of Al Singleton. I think he's one of those quiet heroes in these kinds of stories. Al Singleton, who was quoted as saying that he reluctantly and recently came to the conclusion that they convict a lot of more innocent people than they think. And he took an interest in this case. He was not involved with the original case, but when he read that story in GQ magazine, he wanted to get involved and help. And that's a commendable act, really, a commendable act. But returning to the state attorney's office in Miami-Dade, I have a problem with an organization or an institution that does photo ops, because when Thomas James was released, oh my goodness, you know, this actually, if you Google his name, it was covered everywhere. I mean, it was covered here by all the news stations, but it was covered nationally also. It was a big story, all right? But you know, that's what always happens, right? For a day or two, you get your 15 minutes. Man in prison for 20, 30, 40 years. Finally, they realize he's innocent, and everybody says, oh my God, look, he's innocent. Oh, what a tragedy. And then they go back to their business, okay? But you have a structure. The state attorney's office, it's like, it's performance art. It's performance art, as far as I can tell. It's performance art. Right? You have something, the structure since 2003 to look at cases. And you say you're the first of the so-called conviction integrity units in the country, and you're so proud of that. Proud of what? Proud of what? Because you have a name? Because you did a few cases? How many cases? Huh? Because from what I can see, Thomas James, certainly you didn't take a look at that. And then a case like my son's case, where it's very clear that there's a miscarriage of justice. No one who's offered a 5-year plea deal deserves to die in prison. And an office, a state attorney's office, that can't acknowledge that, hey, wait a minute, you know, it was wrong. He should have never been sentenced to life. This verdict form was all wrong. This is not okay. Okay? No. It's a win. We got it. Too bad. They don't care. And of course now we're back in court. Because now we have a juror. Originally we thought that we had 2 jurors that lied, but it turns out that it was actually 1 juror. The other juror told partial truth. So we let that go. But we have this 1 juror who clearly lied during the jury selection process. The right thing to do is to say, listen, this month, August, my son has served 24 years in prison. 24, that's 1 year away from 1/4 century. But they don't want to do it. And the lead prosecutor who's fighting us, her name is Tristram Korten. And what's interesting about Tristram Korten, she was the original prosecutor in the case. There were 2 prosecutors. The other one has gone on to do other things. She was the original prosecutor in the case when my son was convicted in 2022. She was a prosecutor on the case when the 5-year plea deal was offered, but now she says, oh, we don't have any record of that. Oh, I don't know what happened. I don't know where it is. We have no record of it. They always offer plea deals. You kill people, they offer plea deals, okay? There's always a plea deal. They can't find it. There's no record of it, you know. Amnesia. Convenient amnesia. But she has other paperwork. Like, for example, she somehow managed to have the questionnaire, the juror questionnaires, when jurors are asked questions. We were looking for this. Our investigators wanted these documents. Our investigator went to the court of clerks, went through all the formal channels. We wanted to see the juror questionnaires to determine if jurors had lied to the court. And the clerk of court said, you know, those documents, they don't exist anymore. They're all gone. And once we filed a motion for a new trial based on juror misconduct, surprise, Tristram Korten has those documents. Excellent, we thought. Please, let us have it. Well, eventually we got it, but it wasn't like she was eagerly happy to say, oh, here they are. No. We still had to, you know, play games. Play games. You know, prosecutors are supposed to be ethical. In my last podcast, I talked about and quoted how the American Bar Association, they have a publication specific for prosecutors about the standards and ethics that should be followed in conviction integrity units, or whatever you want to call it, whether you call it a justice project or whatever you want to call it, but where you presumably are looking at cases and trying to do the right thing. That the core element is that the original prosecutor or prosecutors in the case, they should have nothing to do with it. This woman, not only this prosecutor has something to do, she's neck deep into it. Neck deep into it. Where's the ethics? Where's the integrity in that? Where's the integrity in that? I don't see it. I don't see it. And by the way, when it came to the Thomas James case, she was right up there with the journalists taking credit. Oh yeah, we did the right thing. Look what we did. We acknowledged that we have an error. Yeah, they acknowledged they had an error when it was put under their face, shoved in their throats. That's when they acknowledged it, not because they made any effort to do the right thing. There's a problem with this office. And we're going to continue looking at other cases in future broadcasts. My name is Evelyn Castillo-Bach. I'm the Executive Director of Balanced Justice Network. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. It's much appreciated.